Hey, what is going on, guys? I am back with another video. This video is a lot different than the other one so far. In this video, I'm going to be going over the biggest fumble, in my opinion, of Nightreign. I am a huge Nightreign supporter, and maybe even a little bit of a glazer. However, I have a ton of criticism with this game, and a ton of problems that I have with it. One of them that I'll be tackling in this video kind of relates to an overall bigger one that I have, which I'm sure all of you have, which is the lack of unique bosses in the game, and a lot of the bosses that we have not gotten. But this one is such a fumble because this one that I'm talking about is the lack of certain bosses in the shifting earth events. This is a big fumble in my opinion because the bosses that correlate with each shifting earth event are so unique and interesting and good, and they totally completely relate to the area that they're in. And they're all from Elden Ring themselves, so they could have just been added to the game just as easily. And I can't believe that they weren't. I'm going to be going over these individually. However, there is one. I'll give them credit. There is one, and that's the one in the thumbnail that I did not put in. Of course, that is the Noclateo Shifting Earth, which of course has Estelle as its main boss. Which, I mean, the only other one I could think of is Adula, and that doesn't even really count because he's not really in an underground city. So I'll give them that. They did put Estelle in. However, all three other shifting Earths are missing the person you expect to be in there. Mountaintops is the first one that I'll go over because Borealis is in the Mountaintops. However, he's not called Borealis, he's just called the Mountaintop Ice Dragon, which is kind of lame. But I will give him that. Borealis is in there. However, where's Fire Giant? This is literally like his area. I mean, Borealis is in there, but Borealis isn't a remembrance. He's just kind of like a regular dragon that's just more buffed, that has ice. You know what I mean? Where's the Fire Giant? They dropped such a ball on this. Fire Giant could have been guarding the power. And I'll say this about another thing. Two of these shifting Earths have a boss guarding the power. And that's the Crater and the Hidden City. Why isn't that a thing for the other two? Why can you just get the power in the Rotted Woods and the Mountaintops just for free? That makes no sense. That makes it less interesting in my opinion. And overall, the lack of these bosses makes these shifting Earths less interesting. I mean, if you guys play the game as much as me, you'll probably find I like to get the shifting Earths every once in a while, but if I'm actually just trying to play the game and like casually just trying to play it, not have any bullcrap go on, I'm not going for a shifting Earth. They're kind of like they're just I don't know, they make the game not as unique and not as random. Of course, the game doesn't get random at a certain point, but that's for another video, honestly. Mountaintops, no fire giant. That's so perfect. I get it, he's the fire giant, but yeah, in base Elden Ring, he's in the ice area. He's in the mountaintops. So it's like I don't know why they didn't put him in there. It seems kind of weird that Borealis is like the main boss, but of course this area doesn't really have a main boss, which is another fumble. Two of these areas just don't have main bosses in them, which makes I don't know, it just feels kind of weird going in there, getting the power, getting a main item, and you can just run through everything. Like there's no boss you have to fight to get it. Um, and that leads me to the next one that I'll talk about, which is the Rotted Woods. I'm saving the best for last because the next one is like the biggest gripe I have. But anyway, the Rotted Woods. The only resemblance to the Rotted Woods really is Loretta being there. I mean, I'm pretty sure Loretta's like always kind of in there. I could be completely wrong. I swear every time I get Rotted Woods, I see Loretta in the Rotted Woods. Could be wrong on that. But the fact that you could accidentally find the power and just run through is crazy. Like you don't even actually have to go to the fort. Also, again, the fort, the boss of the fort, you can skip, but the boss in there is just a Lord Sworn captain, just some random dude, just some random broski. Why isn't the castle different? I mean, again, they could make you know what? Screw it. They can make the fort the same. Just put Millennia in there. Why is she not in there guarding the power? The worst part about this is that the power is literally pretty much just her great rune. So they thought to themselves, what power would we do for this? And they were like, oh, Millennia's great rune. Let's do that. And they just didn't put her in. I don't understand. There's so many other Elden Ring bosses that they just added in the game. Clearly, it's not like the most difficult thing for them. I don't know why she isn't in there. I guess because they're wanting to save her for a day two boss, maybe in the DLC. But again, I'll talk about that maybe in even another video. That's even another big problem, is some of these day bosses, these day one and day two bosses. Why the hell are some of these guys day one and day two bosses? Why is Wormface and Tree Sentinel day one and day two boss? Why is a day one boss freaking Swordmaster Anzi and Demi-Human Queen? I don't get that. Why, like, dude, why is the Godskin duo a day two boss, taking up a potential big spot from somebody else when they're already in an Everjail? I love the Godskin duo, but why they're already in the game. Why is Crucible Knight and Hippo in there? They're both the Crucible Knight is in the Everjail and the castle. Like, why are they taking up a spot from another boss that could be in the game? They have the Nameless King, and don't even get me started about they only added two good bosses from the other Dark Souls games: the Smelter Demon and Nameless King. The freaking Centipede Demon and Dragon, pathetic. I can't believe that those are the two that they picked. Two of the spots were chosen by those guys. No Radagon, no Pontiff Sullivan. Like, nah, bro. Great. Just sick, bro. No Velstadt, no Fume Knight. Like, let's just talk about the next one, bro. The Crater. The fact that there's a magma worm at the end of the crater is just absurd to me, bro. I was heated about this when I first ranted way back when to my friend in a call, and now I'm just like, I whatever, bro. I can't believe they fumbled so badly. It's literally a volcano, bro. Why couldn't Rykard be the guy you defeat? They didn't even have to give you like a Serpent Hunter or anything. They could have just let you attack him like you could, but no magma on the ground. I get it, but like at the same, like I get like there would be challenges with that, and it would probably be weird to like dodge and roll the stuff. But then just give us all Serpent Hunters when we get down there. Then why is he not the main boss of this area? I don't understand why any of these guys aren't the main bosses of these areas. Estelle is the only one that makes sense. Borealis kind of I can get, but that's just kind of like, come on, dude, really? And especially, like, you don't even have to fight him. That's the thing, you can just run past him. That's stupid, bro. Like, make us fight him, dude. I get that, like, you're supposed to get the power, and then you're way better off fighting him. Like, but that's just kind of lame. Like, then give me the power at the start. Why do I have to run past him then? And if that's the case, but that's a whole other gripe. I'll probably move on now. But I'm titling this video "The Shifting Earth Problem." But I'll also, I guess, talk a little bit about what I was just talking about. The day one and day two bosses. You already heard some of my topics about this and some of the bosses they added. They missed so much potential for some of these bosses that they could have done. Some of these duo bosses that could have been together, like Smo and Ornstein. They could have had Velstadt and the Fume Knight together. Lore accurate. That, you know what? That literally, they could have added another Shifting Earth. They still can, in the top right corner. Have Velstadt and Fume Knight in Dragonlight Castle guarding Vendrick, and have Vendrick be the final boss of that area. Dude, I'm printing money for these guys. I'm printing money. That's free money. That's sick. That's actually awesome. That's actually sick, bro. It's like a back in time thing when Velstadt and the Fume Knight are still like guarding Vendrick in prime form, and then just have prime Vendrick. Dude, I'm giving them free money, bro. People want to see stuff like this. People want this. They don't want Wormface. They don't want Tree Sentinels. They don't want the Demi-Human Queen. We don't want Bell-Bearing Hunter when we already have him in the game. We already have him under the castle, or I think he could be at the top of the castle too, or just in the freaking field. We don't need him as a boss. No offense, bro. He's cool. I like what they did with him by making him kind of a cool character in this game, as opposed to Elden Ring, where you could just play a whole 10 different playthroughs and not see him. Or like the fact that there's just reused bosses as day one and day two, when they've shown that they're willing to put heavy hitters like Nameless King at day two. So like they're willing to use like these heavy hitters, bro. Like Nameless King, man, he's up there with like Melania and Radagon. Like, you're gonna put them on the same tier. Wherever you're putting that one of those guys, you're gonna put the other ones on that same tier. You know what I mean? So Radagon is gonna be a day two boss now. Like they've limited these guys to day two bosses. which just means less of them possible. And now they're competing with spots with the Crucible Knight and Golden Hippo, the Godskin duo, which is fine, but again, they're already in an Everjail, so it's just reusing them. Like we already got them. Freaking what was I saying? The freaking Draconic Tree Sentinel and then the regular Tree Sentinel. Like, dude, come on, what are we doing? Dancer of the Boreal Valley is another one that I forgot. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'll give them that. But then also you can with Caligo, where you can get Dancer, you can also get freaking. I just had it on the tip of my tongue. What the hell? The Dragonkin Soldier, bro. Dragonkin Soldier is like freaking everywhere. I get this guy every 5 seconds out of an Everjail. He's in the Noclateo. Like, bro, we don't need more Dragonkin Soldier. I feel like I see this guy way too much nowadays, and he's only in like two different things. But like, oh my gosh, bro, I could have actually. You know what? I'm kind of ripping them. I'll give them the Estelle thing because they could have just as easily done Dragonkin because he's already like the mid boss there. They could have just as easily put him at the end. I'll give them that. They didn't do that. I'm surprised they didn't, seeing as how they kind of fumbled everything else. I'm surprised they actually added Estelle. But I guess if they're adding the ones on like the ceilings, shooting the rocks at you, they might as well add the actual one, or else that would be really weird. But again, man, so much fumble, and it's really giving me low expectations of this DLC. I feel like we're gonna get like what they're gonna plan on doing is they're probably gonna do Millennia. They're probably gonna put like a heavy one or two heavy hitters in there so that we're like, whoa, sick, dude. But they're also just gonna have nonsense in there. Like we're still having Wormface. Like they're just gonna add two things that are gonna be like, whoa, that's crazy, bro, and that's gonna be sick. But it's gonna take away from the fact that they're just adding in other reused things that we don't need to see. Like the only one is like Wormface that's unique because he's a one of one in Elden Ring. So, but not even really because he's just a bigger version of another enemy. Like every other one of these other bosses are just non-unique enemies. There's like 10 different demi-humans. Like I think like 3 or 4 in Elden Ring. Freaking the Swordmaster. I guess he's a one of one. Yeah, I guess he is, but he's a combo like. Oh my gosh, dude, there's like a bajillion Crucible Knights in Elden Ring. There's a bajillion Hippos in the DLC. Like, dude, we don't need these guys as end of day bosses. They needed what they need to do is they can do a fix. I genuinely think that they can go back and fix it. They can move every day 2 boss, other than like Nameless King and Dancer, back to day 1. Ancient Dragon can be a day 1 boss instead of having him be like a replacement for Nameless King. It's either the Dragonkin and Nameless King, or I forget who the Ancient Dragons is interchangeable with, but you know what I mean. Move these randos to the front lines, or just remove them completely and add other bosses. I genuinely feel like the day 1 and day 2 bosses should specifically be for unique bosses from any of the Souls games. They can be from Elden Ring. Like you could have Senistax or whatever, Fortisax be a day 1 boss. I get it, it's literally looks exactly the same, but at least it's the unique version. It's essentially the same thing though. But you know what I mean? Like they could have done Siluria as a boss. Like, don't even get me started on these Crucible Knights. You see these guys everywhere. The fact that they keep using them is crazy. Like Siluria couldn't have been, like they should have removed him from an Everjail, removed him from the castle, and just made him at least instead be in that Golden Hippo fight. So it's not just a basic Crucible Knight, but that's very nitpicking, and I don't really care. But like we need the day 1 and day 2 bosses, like the Smelter Demon. Smelter Demon is a day 1 boss. That's perfect. That is perfect. He's not a day 2 boss. He's perfect where he is at day 1. However, why is he also interchangeable with some rando bums? Like, I don't want to fight these randos, bro. I want to fight the cool guys. I want to fight the Dancer of Boreal Valley. I want to fight the Nameless King. I don't want to fight these other guys. And I don't like that I'm getting, like, that I can only see Nameless King in the last 2 expeditions. Or I think it's last 3. I think Fulgore you can actually get into. I think. But you know what I mean. They need to fix this. I genuinely think they need to go back and change this. I also think they need to do the same thing for the Shifting Earths. They need to go back and fix this. Because Shifting Earths would be way cooler if you had to, like, let's keep it real. A lot of people don't like Rada Woods. I like it, but you would like it a lot more if Malenia was at the end of it, and she was guarding the power. So you couldn't just run through and just get the power real quick. Same thing with Mountaintops. If Fire Giant was guarding it. I love the Fire Giant. I would love to fight him in this game. I think the Fire Giant's one of the best fights in Elden Ring. I know I'm probably weird for that, but it's probably my favorite OST, and I just think he's sick. How cool would that be if he was on the top of that mountain and behind him was the power and you just had to get through him. That's sick. Or Rykard comes out of the freaking ground in the freaking volcano, and your whole team's equipped with Serpent Hunters. Or you know what I mean? Your Ashes of War are changed to the Serpent Hunter one just for the time being. That is sick. That is what I'm talking about. It's missed opportunity because they definitely probably thought of it. I don't know what kept them from doing it. I genuinely don't know what kept them from doing it. I can't believe that they didn't do that. They were like, nah, we'll have Borealis be like the main boss of the frickin' mountaintops. Like, cool. We'll just have no boss specifically be in the Rotted Woods. We'll just have all the field bosses kind of just go into the Rotted Woods. Like, what? That's not cool. That's kind of lame. Like, that's kind of stupid. Like, we'll just reuse a boss that can be in the castle and in the field at the same time. We'll have him in the crater. We'll just have him at the end. Magma Worm. Sick, dude. People love fighting the Magma Worm. They want to fight him a potential of 3 times in one game. People really want to do that. Like, nah, dude. We want to fight these unique bosses, bro. A lot of people really got their hopes up for seeing a lot of different bosses, but what they're gonna have to come to terms with is that they're probably gonna do a couple of more really popular ones like Millennia. They're gonna do maybe Soul of Cinder. I can see. They're gonna do some of these really they're not probably gonna do another Dark Souls 2 one for keeping it real. They're probably gonna do Simone Ornstein because people are really complaining about it, but that's it. Like they're not gonna do a bunch of other ones. You know what I mean? Like I swear, like I'm gonna make another video for my hopes and expectations of the DLC because they may seem crazy and like I'm asking a lot, and maybe I am, but am I the only one that just feels like they've really just fumbled the bag at every opportunity for like adding in certain things into this game that are such a good idea? But the thing is, it's like it's not even like they added it and didn't like do anything with it. They just chose not to add it, but they chose to add other things that made no sense. Like they just chose to add in garbage fights for day 1 and day 2 bosses, like the Tree Sentinel, which I know it's not really like the gankiest fight because you can just solo the Tree Sentinel, but they have the wormface. They have the freaking demi-human who summons all their bullcrap, and then the Swordmaster. They have all these like it's just a bunch of stuff instead of like choosing an actual mid-tier or low-tier boss from another game. Like, bruh, what are we doing? Like we could have I don't know what's a mid-tier boss from DS3. Freaking High King Wolnir, is that, or maybe like you know what I mean? They could have had the crater been the Sir Alone Knights, but and then having Sir Alone at the bottom with like the Iron King or something, and like your team has to split up or something. You know what I mean? But let me break it down like this. Using that kind of example, FromSoft, where they're at right now with this game, is what they'll do is they'll add a whole Iron King section. Instead of Sir Alone being at the end of it, they'll have the old Iron King at the end of it. Boring ass fight. Just a big enemy that just swings 2 times at you. Instead of having Sir Alone be at the end of it. That's the hypothetical that I'm talking about. That's what they would do instead of doing the Sir Alone. They would have the old Iron King at the end of it. Like it's still cool. It's still an older boss, but like they miss out on the big things. They go for something, they get it a little bit, but like they're right there. Just go a little bit further. Go a little bit more. Do that one extra like jump that you could easily do. You've shown that you can add things in from previous games, and they chose the freaking Centipede Demon and the Gaping Dragon, bro. Like, what? 2 of the most unrememberable fights. Like, stop. Don't tell me, like, I mean, Gaping Jaw is more memorable than the Centipede Demon, but stop telling me. Don't tell me you remember the Centipede Demon. I played Dark Souls 1. I played the whole game through, like, I think, like, 4 or 5 months ago. I honestly forgot about the Centipede Demon. I'm not gonna lie. I actually forgot about him when going through Los Izalith. I forgot that he existed. I forgot he was real, bro. And it's like, yeah, here comes a Dark Souls 1 boss, and you're like, okay, dude, Simone Ornstein, no way, let's go. Who else is it gonna be, bro? Maybe even Seat the Scaleless. Like, I get some of these bosses are weird and dumb and movement-wise, and it'll be hard to add. But they added in Gaping Dragon, which is also another freaking weird boss to fight, and the fight is just stupid. The fight sucks. Like, Gaping Dragon is a sucky fight. Let's keep it real. Nostalgia aside, it's a sucky fight. It was in Dark Souls 1 as well. Centipede Demon sucks. Like, nobody wants to fight the Centipede Demon. We want to fight Samoan Ornstein in Elden Ring graphics and moveset. We want to see that. We're seeing the Nameless King. Like, they're clearly not, like, going to hold back certain people, but they are at the same time for, like, no reason. Again, I was planning for this video to be, like, 10 minutes. You get my plate. Am I tripping in the comments? Am I asking too much? I don't think I am. Let me know in the comments. Am I asking too much? This DLC, bro, like, they could overhaul some of these day one and day two bosses, man. They really could. They really could make it give us like 5 different bosses for day one and day two for each different like thing. Like, they could bring back so many guys. I genuinely think that would make the game way more popular, maybe more enjoyable, make all these hardcores that I was talking about in my last video like the game a little bit more. Also, they really need to change the shifting earth, so more so than that, nobody really wants to play the shifting earths after like 3 times in each one, unless you're just like hyper like wanting to win and you're playing against like Caligo and then you're going for the mountaintops. Like, you really just want to like maximize your damage and stuff like that. Then you obviously go for that kind of thing. Nobody is really going to these. You know what I mean? Unless, again, like, you want extra life after getting hit, or you want an extra life from Noclateo. You're not going for these shifting earths because they're not really that fun for most people after a little bit. They're boring, and I know you could say the same thing about a regular map, but nowadays the regular map is really the only thing I like playing, because the shifting earths, like, they force you to go there, and half the time they're just lame as hell. Am I tripping again? Let me know in the comments. Let me know some other ideas for videos. I was thinking Night Fair tier list, especially before the DLC. I was thinking what I would want from the DLC video. Let me know, man. Let me know, again, play styles, certain incantations I should use, certain weapons I should use. Let me know, man. I'll do it. I'll do anything that you guys need. Pause within reason. But yeah, that's the video, man. That's my plight on the world. Peace.